Think about the last time you were completely overwhelmed. Maybe your schedule was overflowing, you were carrying a heavy emotional burden, or you were just physically exhausted. In that moment, you had the option to reach out. You could have texted a friend, delegated a task, or simply said, "I need a hand." But you didn't. Instead, you gritted your teeth, put your head down, and handled it entirely on your own. People likely praise you for this. They call you fiercely independent. They admire your self-reliance and view you as the strong one in the group. But what they don't see is the quiet, heavy exhaustion operating underneath it all. Because never asking for help isn't necessarily a sign of natural strength. More often than not, it is a deeply ingrained survival strategy. It starts with the small, almost invisible micro-behaviors. You will carry 10 heavy bags of groceries in one trip just to avoid asking someone to open the front door. At work, you will take on the workload of 3 people because you genuinely believe it's just easier and faster to do it yourself than to explain it to someone else. And when you are emotionally depleted, when everything feels like it is crashing down around you, the last thing you will ever do is let someone else see you unravel. You retreat, you isolate, you go silent. You manage your pain in a vacuum because handling things alone is the only way you know how to operate. On the surface, this looks like extreme competence. You are the reliable one. You are the person everyone else comes to when their lives are falling apart, and you gladly hold their weight. But if you look a little closer at the mechanics of this behavior, this relentless self-reliance is rarely born out of pure confidence. It is usually born out of a learned belief that relying on others is fundamentally unsafe. Somewhere along the line, in your early years or through past relationships, you learned a very specific and painful lesson that your needs are a burden. Maybe you grew up in an environment where the adults around you were emotionally unavailable, overwhelmed, or worse, volatile. You learned early on that asking for comfort or assistance was met with frustration, sighing, or worse, completely ignored. Or perhaps you were the parentified child, the one who had to grow up entirely too fast to take care of the people who were supposed to be taking care of you. Whatever the origin, your nervous system internalized a rule. If you want something done, if you want to be safe, and if you want to avoid the deep sting of disappointment, you have to do it yourself. And here's where it gets interesting. The refusal to ask for help is almost never about pride. It is almost entirely about control in the fear of indebtedness. When you do everything yourself, the emotional equation is perfectly clean. You don't owe anyone anything. There are no strings attached. No one can hold a favor over your head, and no one can use your vulnerability against you at a later date. For someone who operates with hyper-independence, receiving help feels incredibly dangerous. It means giving up control. It means opening yourself up to the terrifying possibility that the other person might let you down. It's easier to expect nothing from anyone than to ask for something and be reminded of how it feels to be left empty-handed. So you build a fortress. You become a closed loop of absolute self-sufficiency. But this fortress is incredibly heavy to maintain. By refusing to let anyone in, you accidentally send the message to the people who love you that they aren't needed. You might notice that while people deeply respect you, they also tend to keep you at arm's length. They see you as impenetrable. They assume you have it all together because you never give them a reason to think otherwise. And this leads to a very quiet, very isolating kind of resentment. You might find yourself quietly angry that no one ever steps up to help you. You do everything for everyone else, anticipating their needs before they even speak. What the people around you don't realize is that your hyper-independence is actually a silent plea to be seen. You secretly hope that someone, just once, will look at you, notice you're drowning, and offer to help without you ever having to ask for it. You don't want to ask because asking feels like begging. You just want someone to care enough to simply step in. If this pattern sounds like an echo of your own mind, it's so important to understand that your hyper-independence isn't a character flaw. It is a brilliant, entirely logical adaptation to an environment that required it. Your brain built this mechanism to protect you from the very real pain of rejection and conditional love. It kept you safe. It got you to where you are today. That is not weakness. That is protection. But the cost of that safety is chronic exhaustion. You are carrying the weight of the world, and you have convinced yourself that it's simply your assigned role in life to do so. The truth is, never asking for help doesn't mean you don't need it. It just means you've forgotten how to let yourself safely receive it. It's a protective armor that outlived its original purpose. You don't have to change your entire personality overnight. You don't have to suddenly hand over the reins of your life to other people. But realizing why you hold so tightly to control changes everything.
It shifts the internal narrative from, I am just strong, to, I have been protecting myself. Once you see the pattern for what it really is, you can't unsee it, and that awareness alone subtly changes how you move through the world. If this explains something for you tonight, there's more to uncover. Understanding yourself is the beginning of everything.